So Belle Bennett, would you like to come up and speak? And when you come up, just give your name and your address for our town clerk, Tamara, please. Up here.
Sorry, it's right there.
Up here.
Just at this section.
Not paying any attention. Okay. I'm here for the Pinnacle M, and Mark Ring, who's the treasurer of the board, sent this letter, and he just wanted me to read it. He says that as owners at the Pinnacle, they have a vested interest in the community as a whole, and that they're a large taxpayer as a whole and pay the highest utility bill of anybody on the mountain. Now, their concerns are this. It's mostly, it was entirely, view and noise. They need to have some idea of the height of this building. He would like to have a 3D image, if he could get one, to see how high the building was going to be and how much it was going to impact building 2 and their view of the mountain, because that is where it's at, is it's going to hit that side of the building. Okay, he understood that trees were going to be installed, and I think they already are. And he said those might block the view, but they would not help with the noise. And he understands that the building is moved back toward Pinnacle's parking line with the rear exit drive-through, so the vehicles, trucks would be exiting very close to the Pinnacle's property, and so the concern there is with the trucks is with the noise. It says the trees will buffer the site but not the noise, and he wanted you to consider maybe putting cement walls there should the noise become a problem. And he's seen that done a lot of places. Okay, and he also wanted to know if the extended operations are going to be just during the winter, or is this going to be a year-round thing? And he's also, he says, we are both to be concerned. Property values, if the Pinnacle is affected, then the property values go down, your tax collections go down. And he also has a problem with the large utility bill, because if they can't rent the units, or the owners, have a problem, then they have a problem paying that. And as a matter of fact, they have a problem paying that light bill anyway, because I pay the bills. And that's all he wanted said.
Thank you, Bill. Bill Newell, can you come up, your name and address to the town clerk, please?
I'm Bill Newell. I'm also at the Pinnacle. I'm in building 3. This is fairly new for me, so I'm not, is that a picture of what this is going to be?
Correct, yes, sir.
And it's going to be that neat forever and ever?
It's going to be that neat forever, we
Yeah.
hope so, since everything's going to be
Right now
inside.
there's some junk cars over there, and I got slag piles, and in the summer it's not too bad, but in the winter when the leaves fall off, it's a pretty big mess over there. And there was,
Can just that concern, that's one reason for this building, because we're not gonna tear down the 2 old buildings, and so we shouldn't have anything outside anymore. So the garbage trucks, the tires you see now, our goal is to get everything out of the trees and that type of thing, so.
good. And Bell mentioned trees, and I know they planted a few little sapling cedars that are probably about this high, and maybe in 20 years they'll really block a lot of the view, but I'm hoping y'all gonna put some big trees in there. Evergreens would be good too for the wintertime. And she already mentioned the view and the noise. The only other question I got is on the slag piles that they did a while back, and they told us they were gonna put some kind of a border in there, and basically there's no border there. The only thing is the leaves are there when they come out, and they're gone when they're gone. And I don't know what you can do about that, but that's my concerns.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak during public comments? Okay. Benji, do you want to come up?
Well, good afternoon. I'm Benji Thomas with West Consultants, the firm who did the plans for this project, and we also handled the bidding process. So I'm here today to present to you the bids, the result of the bids, and to recommend the low bidder. Just there's the pictures here you can see for reference. Not every detail is exactly what it's going to be like, but we feel like it's very representative of the proposed building. That's the main building. I'll summarize that. That building there is going to be 12,000 square feet. So that includes a large, what we call shop area for a lot of the equipment to get it indoors, as Tim said. It also includes an office for some of the personnel. And to the rear of that building will be another building for salt storage. That's 2,000 square feet. And then lower on the site will be a new convenience center for solid waste recycling and disposal. That's going to contain a shelter for the various containers. There'll be 2 compactors with shelters, and there'll be a small building for cardboard recycling and an attendant. In addition to all that, there'll be paving and extension of Water Tank Road, and that will be the primary access to this site. There will be one-way circulation through the new convenience center so that the users of it can go circle back around and come out Water Tank Road, or they can go out the existing entrance at the Public Works facility. There is, of course, a lot of rock on this site, so that the town hired a firm to do drilling ahead of time to get an estimate of how much rock would have to be excavated. And based on that estimate, that was put into this bid that we're about to talk about. Please keep in mind, though, it's a unit price, so if they hit less rock, then you save money. The price will be less than what was bid. If there's more rock than was estimated, then obviously you have to pay more. So it'll be based on a cubic yard basis. It will be measured as it's actually removed so that it's fair to the town and to the contractor. I just want to make you aware that that's a significant portion of the cost of this project, which of course comes with being on Beach Mountain. That's allotted time to get it done is 480 days, which is more than 1 year, in part because of the rock and because of the weather. We would expect not only in Beach Mountain proper, but particularly this part of Beach Mountain. So if it pleases council to proceed ahead and award it tonight, then I would estimate starting in October. That would have you finishing in February of '21. The plans do and the bids include a vegetated buffer around the perimeter of the site, including along the property line with the Pinnacle. And that's in accordance with the town's ordinance. If I remember correctly, it's a mixture of evergreen and deciduous, and anywhere from 5 to 8 feet height when planted. To summarize the bid process, so we advertised widely, and I personally sent emails to various contractors in the region, not just Watauga and Avery counties, but beyond that. So we try to make sure we got the word out, and we did have 7 general contractors show up for the pre-bid meeting. And of those, 4 turned in bids on September 5th. That was the due date. So we received 4 bids, and you should have a summary in your package of those bids. And so they ranged anywhere from $4,572,000 to $6,890,000. And the low bid was submitted by MBI Builders LLC of North Wilkesboro, North Carolina. And they're here tonight to share some about their company. But first, let me say that we did, of course, review their bid to make sure it was complete and in compliance with the bidding requirements. We asked for references, received 5 of, building owners or architects or engineers who have done work with them recently. And we were able to speak to 4 out of 5 of them, and all of them were very positive. And so they would use them again. So the low bid submitted by MBI LLC is $4,572,000. That's for all the construction, a certain amount of rock excavation, hopefully enough to cover what will actually be encountered. There will be other costs in addition to that. Of course, there's the fees from our firm, West Consultants. There's going to have been and will be additional fees from the soil and concrete testing firm. A little bit of legal, some permit fees, advertising, with an allowance of $20,000 for furnishings, and an allowance of 5% of the construction bid for just contingencies, whether that's extra rock that's encountered or any other unknown or unforeseen conditions. So if you add all that up, total budget would be 5.2 million. So that's what I would recommend the town plan on as they proceed with this project. So in summary, the West Consultants does recommend award to the low bidder, MBI Builders LLC, in the amount of their low bid, $4,572,000. So with that, Tim, whether you want me to answer any questions now or have MBI come up, whatever you please.
I got some questions for you.
All right.
Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So I have a few here. You answered one about the references, and you have 5 of them. You spoke to 4 out of 5. Why is there such a discrepancy with price? You're looking at 50% difference between the lowest bid and the highest bid.
Right, that's a good question. And MBI may want to speak to that when they come up here. In my experience of doing multiple projects, this is not unusual to have a wide range. What I would summarize it as is the higher, especially the higher 2, probably had plenty of other work, and they just
Business.
said, okay, we know there's, Beach Mountain's kind of out of the way, there may not be 20 bidders on this project, we'll see if we get lucky. That's
Did,
just me and putting it in that's my interpretation.
Did Matthews or Marlowe bid on this by any chance? Or was the bid package sent out?
Moss Marlowe or Matthews Construction?
Yeah.
No, but yes, I do remember sending invitations to both of those companies.
Yeah.
But they chose not to.
Okay. Out of these contractors, MBI and Wilkie, have they built anything comparable to what we're proposing on Beach Mountain?
Yes, they both have, yes.
They both have?
Mhm.
Would it be possible to do a site visit?
Because we've got, when you finish questions, we've got some projects they've done, and we're gonna give them a chance to see your products, so we've got several different pictures to show you what they've done.
Yeah, but my question is, and thank you, my question would it be possible to do a site visit at one of the facilities that they've built that's comparable to this?
I'm sure it would be, yeah.
Okay. So, and I go back to the materials that are used. So if you spec something out that's like 16 gauge or whatever, I'm just throwing that out. So every bid here is going to have the same spec off that 16 gauge,
Yes.
whatever that material may be.
Right, this was a design, bid, build project, so that's what the town has hired me for, is to put out a set of plans and specs. And even during the bidding process, as questions came up, we made sure we issued the answers in writing by the addendum process, so that everybody has the same information. It's supposed to be everybody's bidding apples to apples.
Okay. A few more, please. Has MBI or Wilkie ever filed bankruptcy?
I can't answer that, no. So when MBI gets up here, they can answer.
Okay.
There is a project bond, right?
Right, this is a bid bond that makes, that gives the town some assurance that these are serious bids, so you can't just decide, they can't decide, the low bidder, after you award it to them, well, we change our mind and walk away, or if they do, they have a 5% penalty. In addition to that, if you do award the contract and move forward, you'll have a payment bond and a performance bond of 100% of the contract value. So there you have an insurance company, a bonding company backing up that they'll make sure the project gets done, even if for some reason the bidder, the contractor, goes bankrupt.
So if they walk away from the project, they'll get 5% off of 5.2 million?
The town gets 5%, yeah.
Yes, sorry, I misspoke. The town receives 5% off 5.2 million.
That's correct.
Okay. And this may be a question for them. Istobalt, their car wash is made in Spain, and it requires a lot of maintenance. What about parts?
Yeah, that'd be a question for me and the town staff. So The vehicle wash system was, of course, open to other manufacturers. And as a matter of fact, I believe some of these bidders used other ones. But at any rate, Istibal is one that town staff looked at locally. I think it's Bristol. There's one in Bristol. Yeah, so Riley can speak to that. So, I mean, I'm not sure about whether the parts are going to be harder to get or not, but it is a locally representative company. They have I think, a manufacturing facility
They have
in the U.S.
parts in Bristol. I went
Okay.
up to their place in Bristol.
That's where their parts distribution center is located? Okay. I think that's it. You know, $5.2 million is a lot of money. And, you know, I personally would like to go to to go visit one of these sites that
4.5.
they,
Well, the construction is 4.5, the total project is
Yes.
5.2. So what we'll finance is 5.2, what you're looking at awarding today is 4.5.
all right, so I'm done with my questions, I guess, with you, and I have a few since these gentlemen are here, maybe they can answer as well.
Benji, before
Thank
you're
you.
done, if you recall when we met, we were originally looking at possibly going for the LEED certification.
Yes, sir.
And we chose that was a little cost prohibitive due to the cert. We are still building the building with an eye to that kind of performance without jumping through the hoops, right? As economically, you know what I'm trying to
Yeah,
add.
I'd be glad to.
Across is an environmentally friendly building built to last with lowest possible energy costs and things like, all of the requirements of LEED without the paperwork and documentation and additional costs there. We designed the building with an eye towards that, correct?
Yeah, I'll speak to that. So, yeah, we wouldn't be able to say we are building it to
Yeah,
LEED
that's-
standards and just skipping the paperwork part. We did, in fact, leave off some of the things they would have required in terms of building materials and so forth. What we did do, of course, is make it's a well-insulated building, high-efficiency fixtures and heating and air conditioning. We are going to treat stormwater runoff from the site to remove pollutants. There'll be a permanent wet detention pond. There will be solar panels for the water heating of the main building. So things like that to try to follow the spirit of what LEED is all about.
Exactly
That's what we did.
Councilman Sauer and I, we sat in that, is the building we want to build, a building we can be proud of that's going to serve us for the next many years with getting away from some of the onerous
Yes.
requirements of meeting that certification for, so thank you.
What
That's all
about,
I have.
Wendell?
You know, well, the only thing I was really focusing on, the 4 of the 5 that get references, are all of the 4 in the same square foot range, that similar?
Some are small, some are larger.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think most, well, 2 of them were metal buildings, like, and I say metal building. This is actually going to be,
Mix.
it's metal siding. It's going to be, as you can see, accented with wood. But anyway, they did, 2 of the references were definitely metal buildings. A couple of them were actually more custom frame and built, like a state park shelter. And I'm sure they can speak to more of that when they get up here. The culinary center at Wilkes Community College. I don't see on here the type of building it is. So it is a pre-engineered metal building. Yeah, but we call these pre-engineered metal buildings because the building supplier will actually do the engineering for the detailed steel components, the frame. So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
All right.
what about the materials that are used and short and long-term preventative maintenance? Would we be better off to pay more up front so we pay less down the road with any of the design?
For like durability of the siding, the
Talking
roof,
from-
that kind of
from A
thing?
to Z. You know, basically the components of the of the building, the
Yeah.
roof, the trusses, everything.
So I'd say everything is the most durability you can get for the dollar, with the exception of the wood. Obviously, the wood, like you see there, that's what makes it pretty, but that will require a lot of maintenance in terms, you'll have to keep putting wood preservative treatment on it every few years if you want to keep it. Otherwise, you're going to be replacing it in 10 to 20 years. So, the trade-off would be you go with steel and paint it, or something, a totally different style. But, so that's how I would answer that question.
Okay.
I have a question. It's a backtrack. What was the extra costs for again?
Oh, you mean that I was kind of warning you about that
Right.
it may actually go over the 4.572
So
million.
it's
That, the
after
rock
that.
excavation, and similar to that would be if they dig down and the soil is so bad you can't pour a footing on it,
Right.
you have to keep digging even deeper to get to solid ground. That,
And how much did we put aside extra for that?
well, so that's actually on this summary sheet that you have.
That's the 4,000 cubic.
Now, what you see in front of you is the unit price. So for the low bidder, they bid $32
Right,
per
so it's
cubic yard
128,000.
times 4,000 yards. That's what's,
But I'm confused then, because we had a $4.5 million estimate, but then there was additional costs because the loan we're getting is for 5.2. What brought it up?
5% contingency.
yeah, so our fees, potentially SNME, that's who did your original soil borings. That's who we recommend you continue to use for construction materials testing. Ford, I don't know if he charged the project or not. Ford had a little bit of work with, there's right-of-ways that have to be acquired for this road paving. 5% contingency. Summary here.
Just to point out the 5% contingency and also the rock clause, the estimate is 4,000 cubic yards of rock. If the sampling test only struck the rock, it could theoretically be less than that. However, if the sampling test unluckily happened to miss all the rock, you could theoretically have more rock, and
Right.
to the extent it goes above that, it's $32 a cubic yard for every additional cubic yard of rock that has to be removed.
Right.
So,
Above the 4,000.
so, for lack of a better term, that is a risk of a cost that goes above what the contract price is. Part of that is, that Mr. Thomas has set for the contingency, but that is an unknown.
Okay.
That there's really not, to my knowledge, a good way to get around.
Yeah, I mean, that's normal for the industry, is that you estimate it best you can. There's no way, until you actually do the project, you don't know exactly how much there is.
Beach Mountain is one big rock, as we all know. With the rock excavation, there's a company here on Beach Mountain, and there's several companies in Banner Elk. Could this be done locally to save any money? Or is it being done locally?
That's it. The subcontractors consist of some local, some that are not local. Can you speak to who you had in mind for the rock excavation?
Mr. Abernathy, they've quoted you a fixed price for their rock excavation that is a $32 a cubic yard. If it's up to the general contractor who he wishes to use for subcontractors, they certainly could use local contractors if they choose, but we as the governmental entity can only award to the general contractor and look to them to bring the project in.
I understand that, I realize that. But my question is, depending on where these contractors are, is it an option that if local and, we
Yeah, I
don't
mean,
know-
the
we don't
general
know
contractor
who-
is free to, now, we did ask them to name their subcontractors up front, because we want to, that's just part of our assessing them as a team, their ability to do the job, but they're still free to change if they include us, if they notify us and we approve it. So if somebody from Virginia was the one they used for their bid, and then later they decide somebody more local could do it at just as good a price, then they can propose that, the town can approve it, and that can happen. They have that freedom. So nothing's locked in by awarding this to the general
Said if they
contract.
Had somebody from Virginia, but then wanted to use somebody local, that we would approve it. So if they changed their subcontractors, we'd have to approve it.
Well, town council doesn't have
We
to,
don't
it'd be
have
up to
control
staff
of
if they
this,
wanted to bring it
I
to
know,
council.
but I'm just saying, he just said that the town would have to.
I think it sums it up. We encourage them to use local contractors,
Right.
but it's not mandated. We can't require them to do that.
Yeah,
They're mandated to the $32 per cubic
we get that.
yard.
Okay. Any other questions?
Riley's got a comment.
They had put down Hill Construction Company, which is halfway down the mountain, that's who they're using.
Okay,
Because they're an excavation company.
okay, good.
So that's who I've read on the paper.
What about the, on the waste baler? Where's that in the waste compactors? The facility waste baler, where's that coming from? You guys know? off the top
Baker's
of your head?
Waste,
Baker's
yeah, that,
Waste.
we have asked them to list some of these major equipment items so we could feel
But-
good about them. So Baker's Waste is one that we listed as an approved manufacturer.
Now, the waste baler, that's for the corrugated, right?
Right. Yeah, Harmony Enterprises.
You know, where are
That
they
was-
out of? Are they out of Harmony?
No, that's not Harmony, North Carolina. That's just the name of the company.
Metropolis,
I
North
forget.
Carolina.
Yeah, I've been there, and nice place, but that's just the name of the company, and I forget where they're based out of. But that is one that we approved in the spec, actually.
Are you familiar with Recycling Technologies, by any chance?
No.
They're located in Catawba County. They manufacture balers. A very reputable outfit. And I just say that because it's, and they do big jobs with Weyerhaeuser and Gildan and.
Okay.
So just.
Yeah, there again, the contractor will be free to make substitutions. We can give them suggestions, they can price it. If it costs more, then obviously that would come before the town as a change order.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have some. All right, on one of the bids, it shows it says other metal roofing systems. None of the other bids show that. What is that?
Yeah, so Wilkie had that. So, yeah, we asked them to list who their major suppliers are going to be in the case of the main building roof and wall panels. So the low bidder is proposing American Standard steel buildings. Wilkie Construction proposed A&S building systems, and then that said other metal roofing systems. I think they're saying they would go to a different manufacturer or supplier called Metal Roofing Systems. And I feel pretty sure what they mean by other is the other building, the small buildings, the shelters over the convenience center equipment and containers. So they split it. In other words, they're going to use one supplier for the main building and a different supplier for the small shelters.
All right, so American Standard is for the big building, and they're using another manufacturer for the small one. Is that what you're saying?
Well, these are in columns, so the first column, everything in the first column is what MBI Builders is proposing. And the next column over is Wilkie Construction's proposal. So for MBI, they only propose American Standard steel buildings for all roof and wall panels.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying. Wilkie is also saying that American Standard, but then they're also saying,
Well, A&S, that's a different company than American Standard, I think. Yeah.
well, I was assuming A&S meant American Standard.
I don't think so. But
All right, now, I guess I don't know if you can answer it, or Ron is going to have to answer it, but a little more information on the car wash.
Glad to answer what I can.
Okay, what's the system? Is it brushless? Is it brush?
It's brushless, it's equipment. I had to come up with a car wash that we could wash equipment in the police cars and all the vehicles at the same time. So I've incorporated a brushless system, and it will be a underneath car wash and a chemical car wash, and then a high-pressure wash as it comes out.
So it's brushless, is gonna, and you can, it's gonna spray underneath?
Correct.
Okay, now, is it gonna recycle the water?
No, it is not. The reason we did not go with recycling was two factors. One, in the wintertime with the salt, you cannot get the salt out of the water good enough, and you'd be applying salt back onto the vehicles. The second thing was talking to quite a few of the people in the car wash business with the heavy equipment. The grease coming off the equipment would stop up your filters so bad that you would be replacing your filters so much on the recycle that you wouldn't gain anything.
And the water that's being used is being heated?
That I'm trying to remember if it is heated.
I don't think so, no.
I don't think it is. I don't remember it being heated.
Okay, those are the two questions I had.
Did you look at Altech by any chance?
No, I looked at Isbal, and the other one is, I went to Raleigh to look at their system, and I can't think of the name of it. It's one of the other manufacturers that quoted us a price on it. And to me, the Isbal was a lot heavier duty and a lot more able to transition from car wash to equipment wash better than the others.
And it is touchless?
Yes.
So, what equipment will it not be able to wash?
Should be able to wash it.
Wash every piece of equipment?
Motor graders, garbage trucks, police cars, pickup trucks, everything.
Have they, the car wash, where's this car wash? Is it located, is there one in Bristol?
Bristol is the manufacturer, and he had a display model there. They have not, they actually, this will be probably one of the first of this type in this area.
Where's the closest one that a site visit can be done at?
I don't know, we may be the very first one with this system.
Was there one in Michigan or something? They were different places, a little bit too far to go.
The Michigan was the other company. Yeah, Isbal had just come out with this one that does the heavy equipment. And I've got videos and everything of where it, in other countries where they had run through the washes.
Yeah, one thing you have to be really careful of, when Riley was researching this, there's a lot of car washes out there designed to wash pickup trucks, cars, and that type of thing. There are very few washes of what we have for our type of equipment. And so that's why they're not as common to see. And, we try to look to see if you can find somewhere within a, half a day's drive to go look at one. But,
They have a video online, I watched it
Correct,
online.
yes.
They also use it for buses too,
Correct.
so.
They make one for trains and everything.
Okay.
Anybody else have any questions for Reggie?
Nope, not from me.
Can I ask one?
Oh, sure, why not?
I just want to know, is there an overhead view of how this sits, or how it looks on the top of each mountain? Like where's the dumps gonna be? And
No,
where's the
we didn't-
people gonna be?
we didn't have an aerial shot. That would be more investment, more money to do that. So no, there's not an aerial view or satellite photo of.
Could do that with a drone?
That probably could be done, but it's additional
After,
expense.
yeah. I mean, it's gonna be green metal, so.
Can we get a copy of the print of these so we
I-
can show the people?
If you provide your email, I'll email them to you. I think are they still on the website too, Tamara, or not?
Yes, they are.
They're on the town's website too.
Town web-
But if you send me the email, I'll email you the renderings correct.
They're also in the hallway. It's up the way.
I'm just trying to figure out what part of this is gonna be looking at the pinnacles. It's not gonna be this part, it's probably gonna be your dumpster and stuff.
No.
It'd be that right-hand side there.
And actually, Mr. Newell, we can probably, Riley tomorrow can probably print off some copies and we can print you, they won't be the fiberboard copies, but we can print the 2 foot by 3 foot paper copies.
Yeah.
And you can actually put them on the wall and they're displayed for all you people to see.
That'd be great.
So, with his question, looking at that building, where's the pinnacle based on
To the
that?
right.
To the right.
Diagonal to the right.
So they'll be looking at the garage doors, is that what it is?
Yeah, but again, there will be a buffer, vegetative
Right,
buffer.
right, but those garage doors are facing
Well,
out.
not exactly, because Matt was up here the other day, the elevations, they'll be looking mostly at the front part, they'll be looking at just the roof, because it drops from where it is now. I think the salt building, when Matt was up here the other day, they would see the 10 feet of the salt building, but everything else is almost gonna be below ground level, so they're gonna see basically the roof and trucks that go by. Is that kind of what I remember right?
That's what he was explaining to us.
So it won't be a straight on view, it won't be, yeah.
Riley, you mentioned that this type car wash was going to be the first one that Istobalt has built.
Not built, I mean, it's the first one here in the United States that's being operated. Now, this has been almost a year ago when I started researching all of this. And they did have one at the place up in Bristol, not in operation, but they actually had one of the systems there to look at.
So they have this, what we're gonna get, they have it internationally already?
Oh, yes, it's been in Europe for quite a while. And like I say, if you go to their webpage, and I'll be glad to give you that information, you can see it all on their webpage. The other reason I sort of like them is Bristol, parts are easy, repairs, they'll come straight out of Bristol down here. If we do have problems, they have people there that will come down and repair if we have problems.
Hopefully we won't have problems for a very long time.
Mayor and Council, if you don't have any more questions, would you like the contractor to come forward and go through their
Yes.
presentation?
Okay, so yeah, so it's Drew Hagan and Jamie Macey-Moore?
Thanks, Benji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just pull up one building and then we'll talk and you move on as you want to do.
Yeah, no, that's fine. As you said, I'm Drew Hagan with NBI Builders, and this is Jamie Macemore. Want to thank you guys for the invitation, obviously the consideration for the project should it move forward. Benji asked us to come and show some similar projects, but also talk about the company. I'm a project manager with NBI, although I'm not the lead for this particular project. Unfortunately, that's John Festerman, and he had prior obligations out of the state this week, so I'm here for him. We'll certainly entertain any and all questions. If I don't have the answers, we will definitely follow up with you guys. Do you want to look at the photos first, or?
Yes.
Photos. So as far as what we've done that's comparable to this, Benji touched on it a little bit. This is the culinary lab we recently completed at Wilkes Community College. Again, it's a prefabricated, pre-engineered metal building on the campus. We've done extensive work on that campus, but this is one of the more recent ones we've done. NBI in general, so you know, we were established 10 years ago. Combined within our office, I'd say we have north of 75 years of experience in the industry. We have a commercial and a residential division for intents and purposes of your project and what you're looking at here. Commercially, that means we do anything and everything. So we do higher education facilities, we do churches, elementary schools, retail, lumber yards. So this is another bigger one that we pull up for you guys. As far as comparable in size and scale for what you're going to be getting into with this project, and Jamie can touch on this, he was much more integral with this particular job. This is 58,000 square feet lumber yard in Wilkes County, High Country Lumber. Pre-engineered, again, metal building on top of existing buildings, what made it even that much more difficult. Site works, utilities, retention ponds, also in some more of these photos. Jamie, anything else you want to elaborate on?
It looks like Independence Lumber. What's the name of this? You said it was High Country Lumber?
Yes.
What town are they located in?
North Wilkesboro.
North Wilkesboro?
How long is the facility?
We finished this a couple of years ago.
So what we actually did was, so what we actually did is they had an existing sawmill buildings and mill equipment set up right in this area. And we came in and built this section of buildings over top of their working mill while they continued to work. And then after we had these buildings constructed, this long building and this building constructed to contain all their new equipment, then they came in underneath and we tore out the buildings that they already had. But in all total, which is not everything you see here, but just the section that we added, it was like 58,000 square feet of steel building, just at that facility. But that kind of lets you know what all you see in that one photo.
And you can keep going. We've got more photos. Yeah, again, given that you're going to have a timber frame facade, at least that's what Benji was discussing earlier. We just want to show a couple photos that we've done. These are commercial properties we've done. That's actually Chitola, the shooting range, and there's we have another one of a state park project that we did that's got that same aesthetic to it, if you will. So that's nothing foreign to us by any means. And then the other photos, I've got some photos, I think, of the inside of that building just to show the steel and the infrastructure.
Inside of the one.
In both of them, actually, if you just want to close that one out. You should be able to just arrows. Yeah, you should be. Technology always fun. Not that one. Close that one out. Yeah.
You guys have a hospitality tent at Merlefest?
I'm working on that. I'm working on that. I'm ramping up our marketing efforts. We certainly need one. So what you do with that one first? Like what you want to do. And just pick on the first photo, double click it, open it up, and you should be able to follow the arrows. There you go. And just kind of scroll through. It's just different. There you go. That's as far as the red iron that we call it, the structural steel, because you've got a mix of components in these buildings you're going to be doing. You've got a pre-engineered, the main building, I believe. Vision, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's going to be the Public Works offices and your main shop. And then you've got some actual structural steel assembled on site components. I think that's the recycling container cover, then also the attendant and cardboard compactor area at the front.
That's right.
So we're very well versed in all of it. And this project in particular, scope and scale, was a good one to pull out because it's got the pre-engineered product, but also a lot of structural steel to go inside of it and fabricate. You won't have that combination, but you'll have those elements in your various buildings. If you just, you can click on that one, yeah. And just same thing, pop up the first one. And again, this is just showing, this is what purlins and rafters for a pre-engineered building. That's that culinary lab before we finally buttoned up the front with the windows in the storefront, but you can see the end result. And again, that's, I don't know what other questions you have or feedback. I heard some questions, but if you just want to rehash them and ask me, I'll answer what I can. Anything specific that I can't, that I didn't touch on with the bid itself, I'll certainly link up with John and we can answer those questions when he returns next week. Anything from you guys?
Anybody? Wendell?
I'm good.
And you did ask about a site visit. That's certainly something obviously I can't stand here and 100% guarantee it. We need to check with the owners of various projects, but I don't see why that wouldn't be something we could accommodate if you guys want to pursue that.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to thank West Consultants and Riley for your work. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the MVI bid.
Is there a second?
Second. Mr. Markart, would you make that motion just subject to attorney review? I'm familiar with Mr. Thomas's contract, but it'd be nice to review it before it's officially signed.
Subject to attorney review.
Do you still second that, Barry?
Well, I got a comment. So, I mean, this is a lot of money, and not that these guys, you know, everything here is not going to be done professionally and legitimate, et cetera, but since they're right in our back door, you know, $5.2 million is a lot of money. And I mean, I personally wouldn't spend that kind of money unless I went and actually looked at a facility. And I respect Benji's opinion that these guys, but it would make me personally feel better to go do a site visit.
Anybody have any comments?
We've been working on this for multiple years. We've entrusted Riley, our special project manager, to it. The time for that kind of impact, or, you know, those kind of, no, there's no need to further delay. We're already looking at 2021. We're tired of hearing about the dump. This is a project that is well-researched, well-bid, within the parameters of the bid package we put together. It is time to provide for the next 20 years of growth of this town and move forward on a project that we've been working on for years and years.
I have to say that this town recently went through another large project, $6 million, which is our water plant. And West Consultants and Benji specifically did a great job with that and getting that done and looking out for Beach Mountain's interest in the most positive way. And I trust what West Consultants comes up with. You know, a site visit is not a bad idea, but the timing is a little, you know, off, I guess. But I trust what we've seen. I trust West Consultants for what they've done for us and what they'll continue to do for us. And I trust their decisions on what they're making.
So you don't feel like a site visit is necessary?
Not necessarily.
You're-
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. Let me get back to the mic.
Benji, while you come up here, this particular building is a rectangular building. It's nothing extraordinary as far as construction. It's a standard prefab, pre-engineered building. So, I mean, a site visit might make you feel a little bit more comfortable with the contractor. We check the references, but we don't have a specialty building with a lot of awkward angles or designs that will create problems.
And I do believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is well within the ballpark figure that you had come up with prior to actually
Yeah,
going out
so
to bids.
I'll just give you some of my thinking as far as why we recommend MBI. So I've not worked with them before, so they are a new company to me. As they've said, they've been around 10 years, so obviously we do depend on these references we spoke to. And Matthew Carswell at my office is the one who spoke to him. He gave me the rundown of all the feedback. And he was impressed with, you know, sometimes we hear, you know, better than half or feel good about it, and some are like hesitant, that kind of thing. So all these were very positive. They said they'd use them again. You know, one was an architect, so that's another design professional that is in the same shoes that we are, and he knows that, you know, we don't like to recommend somebody and then regret it. At the same time, you know, obviously haven't worked with them before. You know, there's always some risk. What would mitigate that risk are several things, like we've already mentioned, the bonding. If for some reason they were not able to complete the job, you do have a bond in hand to enforce that. They also look at the fact that the general contractor, they have a huge role to play as a manager of the project, but really their subs do a lot of the work, the majority of it. And so we've already mentioned a local contractor will be doing the grading. That's one of the things I question Mr. Fesperman about with MBI is who are your main subs? What's your relationship with them? Are you trying any new ones? If you recall, in the water plant, the steel erection company was a new sub for that general contractor. And I think that's where some of the issues came up. So I think that's important, that the general contractor and the subcontractors that they're using, they have worked together before successfully. So I tried to glean that information before I made my recommendation. So, yeah, I do recommend them. It's not wholehearted, like as if somebody I've worked with on multiple projects over 20 years. I don't have that kind of information or knowledge. You are obligated to award to the lowest responsive bidder as a local government under the general statutes, and Ford may want to speak to that some more. So really, if you chose not to award to MBI and go to the second bidder, you'd have to have a very good reason to declare them as not responsible. It would be more than just some aggravating type factors. It would have to be poor
Something
quality work,
substantial.
substandard work.
Did you hit a little bit about the daily inspections, weekly and monthly inspections?
Right, and so Riley and West Consultants, and as I mentioned before, S&ME, there'll be a lot of inspections going on. So even if there was some mismanagement at the level of the general contractor, there's going to be other checks and balances to catch that.
Just like you did with the water plant.
Correct.
With the water plant, there was the damages after
Yes.
missing the completion date. Is there similar protection
Same-
based on the
same
storm
thing.
80 day?
Yep, $500 a day penalty
Good question.
if they don't meet the deadline.
And one thing too, when we first started this, we were looking at a year's time frame, but we gave some more time because the contractor, when they were bidding, were a little bit concerned about the weather and other things.
Right.
So this time window is trying to already account for that, and hopefully they will not need any extensions. So we've kind of taken that into consideration this time and given a little bit more time.
Yeah, and on that note, with this being September, it would be better to go ahead and start now versus November or something like that.
Yeah. Good point. Anything else?
I'm for the project, but as Benji stated, this is the first time that he's worked with them. If we delay this 30 days, it's not going to make any difference. And correct me if I'm wrong.
Just like I said, with the weather, you may.
I'd feel more comfortable. This is a lot of money, and I like doing, not that Benji hasn't done his homework, but it's a lot of money, and I would feel more comfortable going and going to one of the facilities that they've built and speak to them firsthand.
Well, I gotta be honest, that's a fine idea. The timing, as I said, is off. If I went to a site visit, I'd go, oh, nice building, because I don't know what the heck I'm looking at. So, I mean, it wouldn't do anything for me. I trust West Consultants, what they've done for us in the past. They represented Beach Mountain well, and
I agree with that.
and showed that when we had issues with the water plant, they were on top of it and taking care of it, and we ended up getting damages from that. We weren't going to let them off the hook for that. So I feel comfortable, I would feel comfortable voting now and moving forward with that trust in West Consultants. Anybody else?
I made my motion.
And second, we've had our discussion. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any against, say nay.
Nay.
The ayes carry, motion carries. So here, a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
Second.
Wendell, Carl.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Riley,
Thanks.
Benji, thank you
you
both,
for everything.
especially for your
And thank you
work
for-
over the last couple of years on the
And thank you for you guys coming up.